Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Amoongus for the regulationE format, but more specifically its decline from grace within the VGC meta. So for a very long time, right, dating back to even previous Pokemon generation games, Amoongus has always been a mainstay in the VGC scene, right? It's always like within the S tier, right, just because of how good it is in terms of like support, right? It's a bulky Pokemon that can, put things to sleep. It has redirection support, and it can even heal your Pokemon, with things like Pollen Puff, right? So if you had like Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, and then this last one was always like subjective, depending on what you needed for your team. It was either something like Protect, it was something like, Clear Smog to remove buffs, or it could have been like a strong grass move like Leaf Storm, right? It just really depended on what you needed for your team, right? But that aside, within the regulationE format, it has declined, and we're going to talk about why that is and if it was deserved. All right, and can it still be used in regulationE, right? And some of these answers to these questions are actually relatively simple, but as far as like a discussion, I think we have to delve a little bit more into it, right? So the short answer is we have good grass types now, okay? Because for the longest time in Scarlet and Violet, we didn't really have any great grass types within the meta. Like, this was your best grass type, okay? And I jokingly say this, but some of you watching are actually like chuckling and like, yeah, he's right. Because think about it, this is a Pokemon that was always Terra Grass for the longest time, and this was like your best grass type, Iron Hands, of course, which I call, again, the best competitive Pokemon, even since regulationC. I've loved this thing to death. You see that almost all my teams run it. And now it's even stronger in regulationE than it was in previous regulations. But this is not an Iron Hands video. Let's go back into it. So we have good grass types now. We after Amoongus, then in regulationD, we started to get Rillaboom, right? So now people started to experiment and use Rillabooms on their team, right? Because now you get fake out pressure, okay? And you get now even priority grassy glide, which think about it, in regulationD, Rillaboom didn't even have, but it was still, within like a top 10, top 5 usage, right? So Rillaboom started to come into play, right? And now you look in regulationE, and now we have things like Ogerpon, right? And I'll even put in the two more common types, Ogerpon, Wellspring, and of course the Heart Flame Mass Ogerpon, right? So now they have dual typing, okay? And you'll see Ogerpon on pretty much almost every single team, to the point where now Fluttermane is competing for that #1 slot, and in some cases not even #1 usage anymore because of Pokemon like this with Ogerpon, the Wellspring, and the Heart Flame Mass, right? So you're getting like strong. Look at this attack stat, base 120, right? 110 speed, so that's very good, and it's actually decently bulky, okay? And then you're getting basically the Zacian buff, right? When you activate its ability, it gets a +1 attack boost. All right, so now you're getting things like hard-hitting Ivy Cudgels, no drawback here, base 100 power, and then accuracy here, and it's also boosted, right? So, at the same time, then you even get a good grass move. You could either get like Wood Hammer, you can get Horn Leech for a little bit more recovery, you can even get Power Whip, okay? So it's actually like really good. And then on the top of that, you even get Follow Me, right? So forget about Rage Powder, now you get Follow Me, so you can redirect all these things to it, and a grass type Follow Me is so valuable, right? So now you're thinking like, do I really need Amoongus? Because at the end of the day, Amoongus is a little bit passive, right? But this thing is super aggressive, and it can give you redirection support, right? And then Spiky Shield is just a very good protect, because you're dealing chip damage to all those physical attackers that want to attack you, right? But so now you have like a Rillaboom here. Again, like we said, you get fake out pressure, and then you get a bulky pivoter and U-turn, right? So in that sense, yes. And now you have Ogerpons here, just doing, Ogerpon things, being aggressive with its attacks, able to support. And then this thing also gets Swords Dance, right? So in addition to the stat boost that it gets, so like this one gets special defense, now you get Swords Dance, and now you can be like super aggressive, especially if you're on the same team as a Rillaboom. You can click Fake Out Swords Dance, all right? And then from there, you can just click Priority Grassy Glides, and they're stronger this time around. So you have that. And then another new grass type that we got this time is Sinistcha, right? And you'll see this on a lot of different teams, something like Sinistcha Roaring Moon, Sinistcha Moltres, like we did, Okay, Sinistcha Como with Snorlax. Like, there's a lot of play for Sinistcha right now, and this is another good grass type, right? So like Amoongus, you get good healing, right? Of course, Hospitality, you switch it in, you heal your Pokemon 25%. But then you also get Rage Powder, okay? So just like Amoongus, you also get Rage Powder, right? And then you get Strength Sap. So now you're talking about damage mitigation from your from your grass type, okay? So again, we're in a very, very physical meta, right? Landorus, Iron Hands, Roaring Moon, you know, Ogerpons, whatever, right? Very, very physical meta. Strength Sap has extreme value in damage mitigation, right? And then you get recovery, right? You get to heal yourself. And then at the same time, your signature move, Matcha Gotcha, the chance to burn and to heal, right, at the same time is really, really good, okay? And yes, it can miss, but you know, 90% is still like pretty good, right? And then you get Speed Control and Trucum. This is an excellent support grass type Pokemon. And you know, you look at its special attack stat, 121 is very good, okay? That's good damage, all right? And the defense 106 also very, very good. So now all you really need to do is just like make this thing super bulky, where you know you can just pretty much almost max its HP like this, right? And then just dump the rest into the special defense like this, right? So now you're just a bulky support Pokemon that can still deal decently good chip damage, right? And you know, Rocky Helmet is a preferred move here, right? So you have all these new grass types that are coming into play, and then now all of a sudden, Amoongus, what do you bring to the table that these Pokemon can't already give you, and then at the same time might even do better, right? Well, first of all, they're more aggressive, okay, in terms of what they can do in terms of their attacks, all right? They still get redirection, right? You have Rage Powder, but so does Sinistcha, and then Ogerpons, they get Follow Me, all right? You don't have Fake Out. Rillaboom's got Fake Out, and then at the same time, you know, you have the ability to just, you know, deal a bunch of damage with the bonks on the head, right? Now, you do have Pollen Puff, right? And you do have Spore, and that's the main thing that you have going for you, as well as like Clear Smog. So you can remove buffs, right? So things that want to go for Nasty Plots or Swords Dances, right? There's a lot of them that are going for Swords Dance right now, and like, you know, Dragon Dances, Scale Shots, all these things, Clangering Soul, right? You can always remove those buffs with Clear Smog. So Amoongus has that going for it. You can still heal, but Amoongus at least gives you a little bit better matchup into Trick Room, right? Because your spores are going to go first, right? And then you're still, I think of these grass types, Amoongus is still like quote unquote the bulkiest in that sense, and then you can always switch it out and get health back, right? So Amoongus still has good value, okay? It's like, it's still good, just not as good as it was previously, right? It's like you got a 98 on a test, and then next time around you got like an 89 or a 90, okay? So is that as good as the first time? No. But does that mean you did bad? No, it's still good. It's just not as good, right? And now people are starting to realize, okay, look, I got these good grass types. I'm just going to simply replace this thing, not being forced to use Amoongus, because now I have other options to use and explore for my respective team, right? And that being said, I think people should still use Amoongus. Like, I don't think it should have dropped that much. And part of it is, you know, new toy syndrome. I still think people are exploring. It's still very, very early in the format. I do expect Amoongus to rise a little bit more later on, right? But for right now, okay, you know, is it still an A tier Pokemon? Oh yeah, absolutely. And I can almost put it like low S tier, because there are still teams that are using it in tournaments that are still doing very, very well, okay? And we're gonna look at some of those teams where you can still use Amoongus and still do relatively well. So this way we can pretty much say that Amoongus is not great or not relevant, because it still is, right? You just have to know what kind of team where it can still do well on, all right? So let's take a look at those squads. All right, the first tour here, let's take a look at this one. So this was the Lyle Prep Tour, all right? And at top 5 over here, we got McAlder Best, right? We know Michael, right? And he's using Amoongus here, and it makes a lot of sense. Look, you've got Iron Hands, Landorus, okay? These two are going to come to a lot of different regulationE teams. But then you enter Amoongus, right? Remember, for a mainstay of regulationD, right? Amoongus, Iron Hands, and Landorus were very, very common. And it makes sense here, okay? Because you're running Swords Dance Ogerpons, so you need redirection support. So you can run Ogerpons and Amoongus on the same team, but if you're going to run this instead of Follow Me, that's fine. You're going to be aggressive with Swords Dance, well, then you're going to need to support it with some redirection, right? And Rage Powder makes a lot of sense here. And then you have Landorus here with Intimidate support. So this way you can potentially set up this Swords Dance. And then even Chi-Yu here with Snarl support to just, neuter special attack damage. So again, Ogerpons trying to, stay on the field and just set up the Swords Dance, clicking Horn Leeches and recovering over time. After Swords Dance, just make it so that it's relatively hard to kill, right? But you got all the tools here. You got Redirection, Intimidate, Fake Out Pressure. You have a little bit of speed control with the Icy Wind, and you have damage mitigation with Intimidate and Snarl. Great team, okay? This is one team where Amoongus does relatively well, and it's used at the same time as Ogerpons. So it's not that you replaced it, you just added it with it, okay? Because you're supporting the Ogerpons in that sense, right? So makes a lot of sense here. I like it a lot. So shout outs to Michael for this squad. Then over here, okay, the Ketchum Cup, all right, and another relatively sizable tour, and Amoongus was on the winning team. Like, look at this, right? You look at all the top 16, there is not a single Amoongus, yet it is on the winning team, which means it's good. Now, why is it here? Because you have Gothitelle, Iron Hands, Landorus. Okay, so again, you can just imagine trapping things in and clicking Spore, and then things like Iron Hands, Urshifu, and Landorus can just clean things up, right? So this is another way where you can literally use Amoongus and protect your Gothitelle from harm, and then Gothitelle and or Landorus or Iron Hands can just keep clicking moves, and then you can't even break it because Amoongus is just redirecting everything. So no Ogerpons here, okay, but you still get this nice little Fire, Water, Grass core with Heatran, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, and Amoongus, right? And Urshifu Rapid Strike is also within the same categories as Amoongus. Like, it has dropped in usage, but it's still good, right? And it was on the 2 finals teams in Peoria, for example. So we'll talk about Urshifu Rapid Strike in another video, but this is another example where, like, again, you have this familiar core, right? And then you just have, your archetype with the other 3. Okay, so shout outs to Ness for another good squad here. Then another Extreme Speed tour, and look at this, Amoongus on the top 3, right? It's on the first place team, and then it's also in second and third place. This is another great example. So let's look at this. So Antonio here is doing Cresselia, Blood Moon, Ursaluna. So Trick Room stuff, right? Which is something that Amoongus excels at, right? So yet again, we have Landorus, we have Iron Hands, we have Amoongus, right? That's a very, very familiar core. Then you have Crescent, Blood Moon, Ursaluna with a Flutterman. This Blood Moon Ursaluna could have easily been like, a regular Ursaluna, right? And then in this sense, like we've even used Gyarados in this slot. So, again, it still works. And Amoongus in Trick Room just clicks Spore on everything, and then your own Blood Moon Ursaluna or Iron Hands or Flutterman can just literally clean things up, right? So, if you want to use it in a Trick Room team, Amoongus is much better than something like Ogerpons or even Rillaboom to an extent, right? So another archetype that can really use Amoongus. Then over here, oh wait, no, let me go back to the other teams. Second place here. So this one is Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, right, with Landorus, Amoongus, Iron Hands. So again, that big 3, okay. Then you have the duo here with Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, so a little bit more special attack damage. Then you add the Iron Bundle here, and I like this a lot. Okay, so Speed Control here with Icy Wind, substitute Fluttermane, great into Trick Room games, as well as your Amoongus. And you still have your damage mitigation with Snarl and Intimidate from the Landorus. So now these Pokemon that are somewhat relatively frail can start doing the job that they need to do. And then you still get this redirection support from the Amoongus, right? So you get healing, you get Rage Powder, you get Sleep Pressure. So, kind of hard to click Trick Room onto a team like this because Amoongus will just punish you altogether, right? And you don't necessarily need the Ogerpons, right? Because you have a bunch of special attack damage dealers. So the damage is good, all right? You got yourself covered. Now you just need to support this trio with Flutter, Iron Bundle, and Chi-Yu. And the way you support it is with Landorus, Iron Hands, Amoongus. Intimidate, Redirection, and Fake Out Pressure. Okay, so good idea there. Then we look at the third place team, Ulysses. So Roaring Moon Milotic definitely appreciates Amoongus here, right? Because you're trying to set up Dragon Dance. If you have a setup Pokemon, you very much need the redirection support, and Amoongus can give you that. Well then, why not use something like the Ogerpons in that sense? You actually can. But then the Trick Room games get a little bit tricky, okay? Because, Iron Hands is going to need a little bit more support, and you might need to change the Fluttermane set to maybe something like Substitute in that idea. But Amoongus fits this perfectly, right? Because, yet again, still, there's no Landorus, but you still get this Fire, Water, Grass core, right? You get Milotic, Arcanine, and Amoongus. And if you just think about this, Roaring Moon and Arcanine, they're 2 physical attackers. the way you want to, you know, mitigate some of their damage is just to intimidate them, but that gets a little hard when you have Milotic on the field. And then at the same time, you know, the Trick Room matchup is much better because you have Iron Hands and Amoongus to help you out here. So I like this a lot. It's a really, really cool Roaring Moon team, and it's something that has been used already in Regulation E, so it's proven. So I like this. This is a great way to use Amoongus yet again, as opposed to something like Ogerpons or Sinistcha. Can you put Sinistcha over here? Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you get Trick Room on your side. But Amoongus can still work here because it's just still a very, very good Pokemon. Was there another Amoongus team here? No, that was pretty much it. So let's look over here. Another 8-in-1 team. You know, similar idea. Instead, right, you got Landorus, Iron Hands, Amoongus. Same thing. Fluttermane, Chiyu, Iron Bundle here. Makes a lot of sense. But Amoongus now here, well, no, it's actually still like Terra Warrior. I was looking for like the Clear Smog Amoongus. But here's that substitute Fluttermane. So that'll help you a little bit into the Trick Room games along with the Amoongus and Iron Hands. So you got your bases covered. Okay. Then if you look at this one, all right, this one, same idea, but now you have Kingambit, and this is actually probably my favorite one because, again, you have Swords Dance Kingambit, so you can lead Amoongus Kingambit, you know, Swords Dance yourself, and then also you have Clear Smog, which is very, very good. I was waiting for it. And again, this is great into Dondozo, this is great against Combo, this is great against Swords Dance, Ogerpons, you know, lots of setup going on here. Amoongus very, very valuable with that Clear Smog tech. And then here's your speed control with Icy Wind, Fluttermane here, and your damage mitigation with Snarl and Intimidate. I like it a lot. And if I had to build an Amoongus team, I would probably just use this 6. It's great for what it can do. All right, especially when you have Kingambit and Iron Hands on the same team. I think they're both very hard to break. And then, you know, you want to intimidate Iron Hands, but then, you know, Kingambit kind of just shoots that in the foot a little bit. So I like this. Then over here, now you have, again, Ogerpons and Amoongus still on the same team, but just like the first team we showed. But here's again the Clear Smog pressure here, and here's that Swords Dance. So same idea. It's just, again, you know, if you want to put them, this is your redirector. Replace Follow Me here with Swords Dance, and now you have some aggressive options here. All right, last one here. This one is a Dragonite team, right? Another 8-in-1 team. Was this the winning team actually? Yes, it was. So yet another, you know, tournaments where like you don't see Amoongus, but it's on the winning team. Okay, right? Again, so what are we doing here? Here's the Ogerpons, here's Amoongus. That means one thing and one thing only. Rage Powder here, Swords Dance here. Okay, and then of course Dragonite Chien-Pao here. So now these grassy glides, you know, with, you know, Rillaboom terrain, and then Chien-Pao here. These grassy glides are like the hardest hitting grassy glides, especially after Swords Dance boost. And then you still get Urshifu here. All right, and here's your Fire, Water, Grass core, like, you know, Urshifu, Ogerpons, right, of course, and then you can even consider Amoongus in that sense. But again, dual grass type here, and then Dragonite Chien-Pao might as well, right? This is a really, really good team as well, so I like it a lot. But again, you can see like all these different Amoongus teams that can do well, and you know, a lot of the common theme is like, again, you might not see Amoongus in Top Cut, but it is on like the winning team, right? So we'll look at Victory Road. They just had a tour, you know, this past weekend, and look at this, right? Amoongus, right? It was on the #1 seed, right? He went all the way to the finals. Dragonite, Chien-Pao, Urshifu, Hard Flame Master. This is the same team that we just showed you, right? Literally is. And then, you know, it went all the way to the finals, right? So that's pretty cool. And then over here, the 5th seed from Alvaro. Again, it's just Kingambit, Iron Hands, Landorus. Then you have Hard Flame Mask, Iron Bundle, and Amoongus. So there was a Fluttermane here, but now they just replaced it. But again, Amoongus also works here as well. So again, it just makes so much sense. And then over here in Peoria, day 2, how many Amoonguses do we see? Right here from Riley. Okay, he's got Dragonite, Chien-Pao, Heart Flame Mask, you know, Urshifu, Kingambit, Amoongus. Perfect team. All right, well, I don't know about perfect, but again, you know, another great squad for Amoongus. This is definitely Swords Dance, what's that called? Swords Dance Ogerpons with Amoongus here. Or it could have been Swords Dance Kingambit. I don't know the open team sheet. I don't know what he was running. I didn't quite catch the stream when he was on it. But yeah, another perfect squad with Amoongus. Then over here from Ethan. All right, so you got Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Heatran, and Amoongus. So another Fire, Water, Grass core. Okay, and it still makes sense, right? Overall, still makes sense. And then here from Alex, Michael. Okay, Amoongus yet again. Same team as Ogerpons. Probably one of them is Swords Dance, right? And then the other one is Rage Powder, for sure. So 1, 2, we already see 3 Amoonguses, right? Is there another one on this slide as we go deeper? Here, another one from Paul. Okay, another one. Again, Shenpao, Ogerpons, and Amoongus. Definitely Swords Dance. I don't know Paul's team, but I'm gonna say if it's following the theme that we've been showing, this is probably the Redirector, and this is probably the Swords Dancer. And then Shenpao just adds more damage to the Ogerpons overall, right? So 5 Amoonguses. Here's the 6 from Cole. Same idea, right? Except there is no Ogerpons here. Instead, we're going with the trifecta with Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, and Iron Bundle. And here's Landorus, and here's Iron Hands. Still good. Still following the template that we've shown you, okay? Is there another one here? There is not. But hey, look, man. 6 Amoonguses within 41. Now, is that as much as previous? No. And like previous regulation Ds or Cs or whatever, out of the 41, you would probably see like 20 plus or 30 plus teams with Amoongus. Now it's down to 6. Okay. So is it as good as it once was? No. But is it bad? Still no, because it's still on very, very successful teams, all right, that can utilize it. It just depends on how you want to use it and what needs it, okay? So that's what I really wanted to showcase you here. All right, let's go back into the builder. Let's just build like a relatively quick Amoongus team. So this way we got you guys walking away with something, you know, if you really wanted to use it. So I still like this set with Rage Powder Spore, Pollen Puff, and Clear Smog. I think Clear Smog is important this time around. I do like Terra Water on Amoongus as always. You can definitely do like Rocky Helmet or Citrus Berry. Let's just put Citrus here. I think it's totally fine. But I do like this familiar formula with Landorus and Iron Hands, of course. And then let's have a Swords Dancer, right? We can pick Ogerpons, we can pick King Gambit, but I definitely like Fluttermane and Chi-Yu here. So here's your damage mitigation, and then here's your 2 strong special attackers, right? And then over here, like, yeah, let's just go King Gambit, right? So if you didn't like the King Gambit, you could definitely do like the Water Ogerpons to an extent, right? So this can be your Swords Dancer, right? And you could just do something like this, right? So here's your Swords Dance, right? Here's your Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, Swords Dance, and then Spiky Shield. You could definitely do this. Okay, but then like I see that, you know, I'm a little bit prone to Intimidate here. Like I can still click Swords Dance, so there's nothing wrong with that. So you could definitely do something like this, right? Or you can just do the King Gambit with Swords Dance, and I think both work relatively fine. And in fact, at the end of the video, I'll probably just give you the pace for the Ogerpons build as well. All right, but let's do King Gambit here. So it's gonna be a Swords Dance King Gambit without a doubt, and which means it's gonna run Protect, and it'll probably run Black Glasses here. Wait, yeah, there we go, Black Glasses, and then we'll just have like Kowtow Cleave and then Sucker Punch, right? So, and then Terra Dark is totally fine. And then for Amoongus here, yeah, we got it. All right, so now let's round out the rest of the team. So Choice Scarf here, standard set, Stomping Tantrum, of course, you know, Rock Slide, U-Turn, and then Terra Blast, Terra Fly, right? Very, very standard Landorus set. Iron Hands here, let's go Terra Fire, your new premier fire type, right? Okay, and then we'll go Assault Vest here because, you know, we don't have the Assault Vest in the King Gambit. But again, Fake Out Pressure, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, and Heavy Slam. Very, very good. Fluttermane here, this will be the Choice Spexer. Okay, actually, no, let's make this Booster. Let's go Booster here. All right, this will be the Choice Spexer. Yeah, this makes more sense. So with Flutter here, we'll have Protect, of course, and then just a standard set with like Moonblast. You could go Dazzling Gleam, right? I think you have to always go Dazzling Gleam if you're paired with Fluttermane here. I'm sorry, Chi-Yu. And then just go Icy Wind, right? You do give up Shadow Ball here, but like, that's still okay, right? I've seen that a little bit more common in regulation, you know, E as opposed to E. E as opposed to D. But like, again, if you're not fine with Moonblast, then Shadow Ball is still like totally fine. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, I think Moonblast is still like very, very good. But up to you. If you want to remove the Icy Wind, you can, but I think the speed control is important here. And then we just go Terra Fairy here. I think this makes a lot of sense. The Chi-Yu here, so you can still do Terra Ghost here, you know, just avoid the Fake Out Pressure because, again, you don't have Protect on this Chi-Yu. So you still want, of course, your Heat Waves and your Snarls, right? This is your 2-stat moves. Then Dark Pulse for the flinches, and then Overheat to just literally blow something up if you ever need to. All right, and then we did the King Gambit over here, right? Terra Dark, Terra Ghost, Terra Fairy, Fire, Flying, and Water, right? So this is like literally the team that you can just easily run with something like Amoongus and still be like totally fine. So now let's just go back here and let's just do some quick EVs and try it out. All right, back here to the Amoongus. So basically, again, we're just gonna go like a defensive nature here. So either you can go relaxed or bold, depending on you and the Trickum games. But we're gonna go bold here, and we're just gonna go up to 220 here. 219 normally would be good for optimization for the regenerator, right? Because 1/3 of 219 is a perfect 73. But because we have a berry, let's go to an even number for 220. Let's go to the second EV bump here, right here at 121. Okay. And then from here, just 1 point here in the speed and special defense, and then just round it out with the rest in special defense like this. So again, we went to the second bump here, and I asked this in every single video. If you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, if you're new, make sure you comment in the video description asking what are EV bumps, right? Video description, I meant the comments, right? Because there is something that's very important to understand. So if you don't know what they are, comment and I will reply, to your question of what are EV bumps. Landers here, let's just go standard, with max speed adamant. I like, Landers with the second benchmark here at 198, and then just put 1 point in the bulk, and then the rest goes into HP like this. Iron Hands, the same Iron Hands set we've been using, where we just go second bump here in 156 investment. Pretty much just max the special defense to survive, the modest 116 Terra Fairy, Moonblast, Flutter Mains that are +1, and then a little bit of speed for the speed creeping wars. Because we have Chiyu here, let's go timid. All right, with the choice specs, let's go about 189 here. This will outspeed other modest Flutter Mains for that matter. And then over here, just 1 point in the Spadef, just as much. So we want the bulk for this, just to be able to survive the Adamant Chenpao stuff, right? Whether it be Icicle Crash, Sucker Punch, you want to be able to live those things. So you need this much HP in defense to be able to do that if you already have the speed tier. So you're going to outspeed Flutter Mains that are max speed modest, which hit at 187. And then this bulk is meant to survive, again, the Adamant Chenpao stuff, right? And then the leftover just goes into special attack like this. So you might say it's a little bit weak, but remember, we have Chiyu and the choice specs here. I'm sorry, the booster energy here. So this is also pretty good in terms of our speed, right? Then the Chiyu, like I said, is boosting the Flutter Main in that sense. So we're already rolling here. Let's just go timid. I think timid is always pretty good here. And then about 84 is what we need, just to like, the little bit of bulk there. 176. Normally this could be a good benchmark if you're modest nature, but I think this is all we really want out of Chiyu. King Gambit, Swords Dancer, Adamant Nature, max HP, 196 investment is already pretty good. All right, then just a little bit of bulk, right? And then just some speed, right? Just to, the speed creeping more against like other Iron Hands. So, this is always like pretty fine, right? And then from here, a Pokepaste here. So something like this would be a really good team with Amoongus that you can just literally hop on the ladder, jump on there, and then just, get some good easy wins, right? Because again, you have Intimidate, you have Fake Out Pressure, you have Redirection Support with the big three, with Amoongus, Iron Hands, and Landers. Then you have 2 dominant special attackers in the format. You have a little bit of speed control with the Icy Wind, right? And then again, you also have like Choice Scarf here. You have damage mitigation with Snarl and Intimidate. And then at the same time, you have King Gambit, just clicking Swords Dances and relying on Amoongus support to, even just sweep some of these teams, all right? So now what we're going to do is let's take a look at some sample games that we can use with the squad and see if we can pick up some easy wins. All right, so here we have an Ogerpons with Chenpao stuff, along with Landorus, Tornadus, and then there's Flutter Main and an Iron Bundle. So pretty good squad, pretty standard squad if you ask me. But, something like this where, like, again, he could lead Tornadus and or Landorus, which is why I want to bring in the King Gambit, because if he wants to click Bleakwind Storm, it's not going to help you. And if he wants to click Tailwind, then we have priority on the field, right? So I want to be able to protect the King Gambit with the Amoongus. So I'm going to lead those two and have the Landorus and the Iron Hands in the back. I don't think I need to bring Flutter Main and Chiyu into a game like this. I feel like Iron Hands and King Gambit are going to do the job just fine, especially with the Amoongus support. Okay, so here's my Amoongus, here's my King Gambit, and he leads Landorus and Iron Bundle. Okay, so right away we're gonna get a nice little attack boost here. So we're gonna put good pressure on this Landorus and even this Iron Bundle to an extent. And again, we have the Amoongus to protect me here. So he has a speed boost nature, of course. He is Terra Grass, so that's something that you normally don't see, but it makes a lot of sense. Resisting the electric damage and just neutralizing fighting hits at the same time. So I do respect that, which is great against my Amoongus, by the way. But he went straight for the Hydro Pump, and the Landers went right for Brick Break. So that's a good tech, you know, wanting to potentially break screens, you know, against Ninetales in that sense. It didn't work out for him here, and either way, we would have redirected one attack anyway. So King Gambit gets a nice free Swords Dance. I could have clicked Spore, but I didn't. So I'm going to protect the King Gambit here. He clicks Encore. That's a good tech on Iron Bundle. Encore is great. And now we spored the Landers, which is great news for me. We just Sucker Punch the Iron Bundle and just remove it from play. So like, +3 King Gambit Sucker Punch with Black Glasses just invalidates his Iron Bundle here. And, you know, I don't get a chance to click Spore here. That was probably a bad move. I should have just, you know, clicked Pollen Puff to heal my King Gambit. But overall, like, he realized he had nothing and, you know, he just clicks Forfeit. So that tells me he probably had, like, Flutter Mane or Chien-Pao in the back. And we still had, like, our Landers and Iron Hands. So I felt like we were just totally fine altogether. Here's another one. This one is, let's actually reverse the view here. So there's the Clanger Scale Clefairy stuff with Sinistcha. Then he has Arcanine, Ogerpons, and Iron Hands. Good team. I like it a lot. But again, you know, this is where like Clear Smog Amoongus can really come into play, as well as like Spore shenanigans. So I'm going to lead the same exact thing and bring the same 4. He's bringing Iron Hands and combo this time instead of Clefairy. He goes for Fake Out. I knew he would. And there's the Clanger Scale Soul, which is fine because, again, now I have the Swords Dance play. Okay, so we're just kind of chilling. I'm going to Protect here. He makes a smart play. He protects his combo here because he figured I might have Protect. All right. And he blocks my Spore. So that's a great play from him. But I click Rage Powder, and now I just Sucker Punch that. Just deal a little bit of chip damage. Clanging Scales does a lot, but again, we are King Gambit, and that doesn't kill because it's a spread move. All right, he gets a defense shot. We have a Citrus Berry, which is nice, and Iron Hands. Drain Punch can't break through the Amoongus. See, you see the value of Amoongus? Now we just remove the combo, all right? And he Drain Punches the Amoongus instead of the King Gambit. He could have picked up the KO, but instead he gives me the Spore, and it's not looking good for him. Here's the Arcanine. So he's boosting my King Gambit even more. +3. Let's go Landers, intimidate both these options. Let's click Sucker Punch, and that actually just removes the Arcanine altogether. Oh man, Amoongus King Gambit, man. You see, this is why you need Amoongus. Alright, so there's the place one more time. So like I said, look, Amoongus, is it worse than Regulation E? Yes, but I feel like it will go up later on, and it's still a very, very good Pokemon. Like, the bulk that you get and the Spore Pressure is something that the other grass types can't really give you. Yes, they give you more offense. Yes, they might give you more speed control and damage mitigation and Fake Out Pressure. Yes, I understand that, and that might be more valuable in the grand scheme of things, but Amoongus is still pretty good, and on the right team, like something like this, it can still do like relatively well. All right, that's going to be it, folks. And again, if you need help with team building, if you're trying to get ready for premier challenges or MSSs, or, you know, upcoming regional like Sacramento, and you need some advice as far as like team building is concerned, definitely sub to the channel with the tier 3 sub. It's only $10, very, very affordable. Look in the video description, click the link and sub, or look in the comments section, and there is a link there to join the channel with that tier 3 sub at the same time. All right, that's going to do it now, folks. Peace out and have a good day.